For 20 years, the wound had never truly healed. It was a dark, poisoned memory from his childhood, a relentless ghost of humiliation that had shaped the man he became. Then one ordinary morning, a letter arrived. The handwriting on the envelope was unfamiliar, but the name on the return address sent a jolt of ice through his veins. It was the name of his childhood tormentor. He opened it, preparing for a fresh wave of pain. But the letter began with 5 words that would unleash a miracle of healing he never thought possible. I had a dream from God. In that moment, 20 years of anger, resentment, and pain vanished, washed away by a divine message that had traveled across 2 decades to deliver a long overdue apology. This is the incredible story of how God's grace can reach into the heart of a bully and transform him into a messenger of healing. The man's name was Daniel, and the bully's name was Mark. In the ecosystem of their elementary school, Mark was the predator and Daniel was the prey. For years, Daniel endured a daily barrage of physical and emotional abuse. The relentless teasing, the shoves in the hallway, the stolen lunch money, it all carved deep scars into his young soul. The experience had wired his brain for anxiety and low self-esteem. As an adult, he was successful on the surface, but underneath, he was still that scared little boy on the playground, constantly waiting for the next blow. The stakes were not just about a few bad memories. They were about the invisible prison that those memories had built around his heart, a prison that had limited his ability to trust, to love, and to feel truly safe in the world. Mark, meanwhile, had grown up and moved away. Daniel had not seen or heard from him in 2 decades and had no desire to. The past was a locked door he never wanted to open. The letter's arrival was an unwelcome intrusion, a key turning in that forbidden lock. He hesitated to even open it. What could this man possibly have to say to him after all this time? The feeling was one of dread, the bracing of his soul for a new kind of pain. With a deep breath, he unfolded the letter. The first words, "I had a dream from God, and I was shown what I did to you," stopped his heart. This was not the letter he was expecting. Mark went on to describe in raw, unflinching detail a dream he had experienced the night before. In the dream, he was not an adult looking back on his childhood. He was a child again, back on that same school playground. But this time, he was not the bully. He was forced to experience every shove, every cruel taunt, every moment of fear from Daniel's perspective. He wrote that he felt the terror, the shame, the profound loneliness of being a child with no one to defend him. He said he felt the hot sting of tears that Daniel had held back, the deep, aching wound in his soul. The dream, he wrote, was not just a memory. It was an experience. It was a divine intervention that forced him to feel the full weight of the pain he had inflicted. He wrote that he woke up from the dream weeping, overwhelmed by a guilt so profound it was suffocating. He said that in the dream, a powerful, loving presence, which he knew to be God, had told him that he could not move forward in his own life until he had done everything in his power to heal the wound he had created in Daniel's. The letter was a raw confession, a desperate plea for forgiveness. It ended with, "I know I don't deserve it, but I am begging you to forgive me. I am so sorry for what I did to you. I was a broken kid, and I broke you. I live with that every day." As Daniel read these words, something miraculous happened inside him. The 20 years of carefully constructed walls around his heart, the anger that had been a constant low-grade fever in his soul, simply dissolved. The release was so sudden, so total, it felt like a physical event. He felt a wave of warmth spread through his chest, a lightness he hadn't experienced since he was a small boy. He wasn't just reading an apology, he was participating in a moment of sacred, divine healing. This story is a breathtaking example of the divine message framework, a communication from God designed not just to inform, but to transform. The dream was a sophisticated spiritual tool. God did not just tell Mark he was wrong. He made him feel the consequences of his actions. This is the essence of true empathy and the foundation of genuine repentance. It was a divinely orchestrated cognitive reframing, forcing a shift in perspective so powerful it changed the course of a man's life. This miracle operated on two souls simultaneously. For Mark, it was a painful but necessary gift, a chance to confront his own darkness and begin the process of atonement. It was a call to spiritual maturity, an opportunity to clean a deep stain from his soul. For Daniel, the letter was the key that finally unlocked his prison. The apology, born of a divine revelation, had a power that no therapist or self-help book could ever match. It was not just a man saying he was sorry. It was God saying, "I see your wound, and I am healing it now." The story teaches us a profound lesson about forgiveness. Often, we think of forgiveness as something we do for the other person. But Daniel's experience shows us that forgiveness is, first and foremost, a gift we give to ourselves. The letter gave him the permission he needed to finally let go of the poison of resentment he had been carrying for 2 decades. It set him free. And in a final act of grace, Daniel wrote back to Mark. He offered his complete and unconditional forgiveness. This act completed the circle of healing, freeing both men from the chains of the past. It was a testament to the fact that God's plan is always one of reconciliation and restoration. He is a God who can take the ugliest parts of our past and use them to create a future of grace and healing. Your wound may not have been caused by a childhood bully. It may be a betrayal by a friend, a hurt caused by a family member, a deep injustice that you have carried for years. But this story is a promise. It is a promise that God's healing power can transcend time. It is a promise that no wound is so deep that it cannot be healed, and no heart is so hard that it cannot be softened. The divine message of healing is always on its way. It may take 20 years, but it is never late. It always arrives at the perfect time. If you believe in the power of forgiveness and the miraculous healing of old wounds, consider following for more stories that testify to the relentless restorative love of God.